Welcome to Surfside Stories. We today have here in the studio one of the finest men in beach music that you'll ever meet. Not only is he a vocalist, he's an instrumentalist. He can do anything in the beach music world. We'll get him to tell us about all the different instruments he plays. And we're going to talk about some great music, some great songs that he's done. Here, welcome, Mr. Wayne Free. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the invite, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, I got to tell you, your fans, the ones that heard that I was going to be talking with you, want to know how you got into beach music, how it started, or how you got into music to begin with, and how did you make the transition to beach music, and then how did you pick out those great songs that you've been recording the last couple of years? So you take it and you run with it, brother.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Let's see. I was a music education major. I'll just start in college.
Okay.
Well, no, let me go back.
Okay.
My dad was a country music singer.
Wow. Okay.
And he had his own bands as I was growing up, and they always practiced at our house. And this was before the age of 10. So they always stored all of their equipment in my bedroom because I had the biggest room in the house. And I was not allowed to touch it, but I always did. There was always a chance I was going to be whipped to a bloody stump, but I did it anyway. But I fell in love with music watching my dad sing and perform. And he had all the Elvis records and 8 tracks. So back then it was the 8 tracks that he let me have the 8 tracks because I couldn't scratch them up.
Okay.
So Aloha from Hawaii, Elvis, 1973, was my favorite album. It still is of all time. And I learned every spoken word, every sang word by every singer on the record, inside and out.
Yeah.
I knew it all. And so that's how.
Yeah, he had some great songs in that movie, the Hawaii movie. Did fantastic stuff.
That's my heart.
Me too.
I love that album.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that's singing became my first love, and I learned to sing from that 8 track and my dad. So I had the bug, and my parents divorced. My dad moved to Knoxville to pursue music. Didn't work out so well for him at that time. But my mother and I moved out of town. We moved away we were in Ware Shoals, South Carolina at the time.
Okay.
We moved to Greenwood, and we had to live with my grandmother for a while. You know how things go still.
Yep,
So I said, Mom, I just want to play music. Please let me play music. She put me I transferred to a new school, put me in beginner band with a clarinet for one day. I was like, no, I can't play clarinet. I'm not going to do that. So they bumped me over to a trumpet, and I fell in love with that. Short story there is I was the MVP of beginner band that year.
Wow. But you did good with the wind, but didn't like the reed instrument.
No, it just wasn't me. I don't know. I didn't vibe with a reed instrument.
Okay.
Later on, though, would be different. But so then I left there, transferred to another school after 1 year, and they had 14 trumpets in their school band, and they didn't need another trumpet. So the band directors talked to each other, and she's like, "You think this kid will learn to play a French horn?" And the band director was like, "Look, he picked up trumpet so quick, he'll probably love to do it." So I did, and I began to play French horn in 8th grade. Little did I know, this is a little foreshadowing. The kid that was sitting next to me in beginner band was the youngest son of John McElrath, the founder of the Swing Medallions.
Really?
That's when we met. And the kid on the other side of the room playing snare drum would be the drummer for the Swing Medallions, Robbie Cox, for like 28 years.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Foreshadowing there. So that was in the 8th grade. I played French horn through high school, but I got really bored with the French horn and wanted to learn other instruments. So that's where I got that fever, learning to play. Unfortunately, to this day, I've never mastered an instrument and I envy a lot of my friends that have. I just kind of play at everything,
I
just
understand
well
that
enough to record it.
concept.
And if I need to record it, I'm a master at the punch and edit. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I wound up playing French horn through high school. I auditioned for Spirit of Atlanta Drum and Bugle Corps, and I made that playing an alto back when they still had two valves.
Yeah.
But my family didn't have enough money for me to keep doing it, so that broke my heart. But got a full scholarship to Lander University in Greenwood, and I went there with a couple of offers to other schools partially. My grades weren't that good, so I had to take the first ride, the full ride, you know. So I was a music education major with my primary instrument as French horn at Lander University in Greenwood. So that's how we get to the college days.
Okay.
So after that, of course, I told you I was kind of always interested in learning new instruments because I would get really bored with what I was playing,
Okay.
especially French horn. My, there's so many stories about French. My stepdad.
Any story you have you want to
My
share?
stepdad used to make me practice in the barn out back
Oh,
with the French
with
horn.
French horn?
Yeah, so I mean it was bad, you know. But I wound up getting a full ride to college, and I wanted to be in the jazz band because I was in the jazz band in high school. I played trumpet in the jazz band in high school. I was a solo trumpet player because nobody else had the nerve to take a solo, and I didn't care whether it was in the right key or not. I didn't blow my head off. So the jazz director says, "Well, we don't really need any French horn players in the jazz band." I was like, "Well, what do you need?" He said, "Well, I could use a trombone player." I was like, "Cool. Do you have a trombone?" And he gave me one, and I was he stuck me in fourth chair, trombone, the last guy, and I worked my way through. And as I was in there in the jazz band, little did I know the trumpet player right behind me was the trumpet player for the Swing Medallions. So it comes around yet again. That was Richard Loper.
Yeah.
And Richard told them, the rest of the guys, about me and said, you know, this guy, he plays trombone. They had just lost. I don't know if you remember Johnny Cox.
Good. Yes.
He was a sax player for the Medallions.
Yes.
Well, his son, they called Scooter.
Yeah.
Scooter, they had just parted ways with Scooter, and they needed somebody to fill his shoes. Scooter was, I saw the videos, a heck of a showman. He was so fun to watch. So they asked me if I would be interested to come over.
The Scooter was playing the trombone.
No, Scooter was gone. Scooter was a sax player like his
he was
dad.
a sax player like his dad.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so I went over and I met Mr. McElrath. They had a studio at Mr. McElrath's home, and that's where they rehearsed. And at this time, you know, we were junior high at first. Now we're all college age. And I see Robbie again, and I hadn't seen him since high school. I saw Shane again, John's youngest son, the French horn guy.
Yes.
Shane and I played football together for a minute in high school, but I hadn't seen him in years. He was going to the University of Georgia at the time. He drives in from the University of Georgia to rehearse. And Mr. McElrath says, "So you're the trombone guy?" I was like, "Yes, sir." I had only been playing trombone for 2 weeks at this time. And so they taught.
You must be a fast learner.
Well, I just picked it up by ear. Slide trombone, no valve trombone. That's cheap.
Okay.
Mr. McElrath said, "Okay, kid." That's my impersonation of Mr. McElrath. He said, "We're going to do Be Young, Be Foolish by the Tams." And they taught me the notes, showed me the notes. I picked it up. We played it together. We had a nice blend as a horn section. He said, "Okay, that's good." Then he said, "How about this one?" And they went into Word Up by Cameo.
I remember that. Yep, I know that one too.
We did that one together. I picked everything up by ear, and Mr. McElrath hired me on the spot.
Really?
That was my introduction to beach music. And that was
That's a great way to get introduced.
That was October of 1989.
That's a great way to get introduced.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
Really.
Right place, right time, brother.
And you know what? That's kind of how I wound up in the Embers too. Pretty much an accident.
So where'd you go from there then? When
Well,
you got out of college, what did you do?
um, well, I was in the medallions all through college.
Yeah.
I had a full ride, but then I changed my major, my focus, my primary instrument from French horn to trombone.
Okay.
Because I'm in the medallions, we're making money like crazy every week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, trombone needs to be my primary instrument.
Okay.
Because who's going to make money playing French horn in a beach band? Especially this band. Swing medallions, you've seen all the dance moves.
Oh yeah.
Can't do that with French horn. So I stayed there, and I was there for 15 years. And you asked me, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question you asked me?
I think that's where you went after college. Yeah, I think that's exactly where you get into.
Yeah.
Where you
So I was
Yeah.
I was there the whole time I was in college, and I got out in '93 on the extended plan. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I took a semester off, a time or two, because the medallions were working so much.
I'm familiar with that concept.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So after that, I stayed with the medallions all the way up to 2004. We had an incredible run, and we were really doing well with the Coors sponsorship. We wound up with 2 buses, not at the same time.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were doing well enough to travel in luxury, and we were all over the Gulf Coast and Alabama, Georgia, Florida, everywhere, you name it. But mostly there. We rarely came here. We didn't go north. We didn't come to Myrtle Beach that much, hardly ever. If we did, it was private. We went to Virginia a couple times.
Yeah.
But in all that time and all the work, we were primarily a Gulf Coast, region from Georgia,
Yeah.
Florida, Alabama. We went to Mississippi a bunch of times. We went to Texas. We went to California. I mean, but we just never came here.
Did that in any way influence your music or your future? Or what
No,
you
I
thought
tell
of
you
music?
what influenced my music at that point was Mr. McElrath. He introduced me because, like I said, up until that point, I grew up on Elvis and country music, the old country.
Oh.
And I was missing out, and I didn't know it then, on all the soul music and all the music that was so popular here at the beach
Yes.
and with the shaggers, and the music that, back in the day, the old R&B stuff that everybody was sneaking off to shag to.
Yeah.
I missed out on all that stuff. Mr. McElrath introduced me to it. He's like, you ever heard of this guy? Yeah, all these different artists. You ever heard of Otis Redding? I'm like, no. And I was embarrassed to say no.
But it wasn't great having a mentor that could lead these things.
Between him and his youngest son, Shane, they introduced me to the greatest R&B and soul music and artists that I had ever heard in my entire life. So then it's like music was brand new to me all over again. And I was really embarrassed not to know who those artists were, especially in the market that we were in. But we were playing those songs in the medallions, and the college kids thought it was our music. They thought we wrote those songs.
Oh.
And we were killing it. Like we were doing Walking the Dog. I heard the medallions do that out here the other day.
Yeah.
We used to do that, and they go nuts and thought it was our song. And then I just really began to dig in to all the old soul music, which I love so much to this day. And I play a lot of it on my radio show.
Yeah.
And I dig deep for the stuff. Like, especially, the Chess record label hits me immediately.
Yeah.
Dig deep for things like that people may have forgotten about, which led to one of the recording projects that
Yeah.
you mentioned early on. But anyway, that's what I did after college with medallions, and I owe them so much in the way of experience and knowledge. Mr. McGrath put everything in front of us young kids in the way of the music business and experience. And he built us a studio, a commercial studio.
That's
And we
great.
learned the ins and outs of the recording process in our own space that he
That's,
provided for us.
not everybody gets that
It's
experience.
such a, but I owe so much to that man. And he was the godfather of my first child.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
I was really close to him.
Just wanted to tell
Get
people
choked up a little bit
how many
talking
kids
about
you
it.
got?
2 boys,
The two boys. And what age are they now?
26 and 28.
All right. Just I had to ask that because I didn't know, and your fans may not know, but now they will. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, well, let's talk about. Okay, you talked about the medallions. I think that's a great. Gosh, everybody should be so lucky to have that type of experience. Where did you go from the medallions?
Well, I left music for a minute. There was so much going on in my personal life that I won't address here, but I felt like, with everything that was happening, I just needed to get out for a minute, take a break, get a real job. And I did that. I moved my wife at the time, the mother of my boys. We left Greenwood and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I got a real job as a maintenance tech at an apartment complex, a condominium complex, and I was there for like 2.5 months, and I was so miserable. I worked 2 weeks and barely made the same money I made in 1 week with the medallions, and I was like, "What am I
Were you
doing?"
missing your music?
Yeah, I was, and this is a true story. I was, so when people move out of an apartment, you have to turn it over to get it ready for the next. I was in the bathroom by myself, caulking a tub. I may get choked up. I was caulking a tub,
That's fine, bro.
and I was like, just thinking about it. And there's no music in my life. I was like, I really need to do something to start playing music again. But I don't know anybody here. I don't have any outlets. And I didn't have the confidence to just throw myself out there. Um, so I was caulking that tub. I'm like, God, I'm a spiritual guy.
Good.
It'll wash over me
Good.
before you know it. I was caulking that tub. I was like, God, please somehow bring music back into my life. Because I felt like he blessed me with the ability to do what I had done, especially the way it happened,
Yeah.
just by accident. So, and this is an honest to God truth. The next day, Bobby Thomas had called me. Never spoken to him in my life. Didn't even know who he was. Well, I knew who he was because the Medallions played a show with the Embers at Jekyll Island in 1992 or something.
Right.
So I'd seen him back when Bobby still had the afro.
Okay.
And so he called me up and he was like, Mark Black was leaving the band.
Okay.
And he's like, somebody told me that you were a real good singer. And I was like, well, I appreciate that. He said, well, can you sing da 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 da? And I said, well, I hadn't run into a song I can't sing yet, unless it's real, a real deep song. But I was just joking with him. And he was like, well, look, the Embers have a gig coming up here in Roanoke Wednesday, and this was on a Monday. He said, you think you could hop in the bus with us and run up there and help us get through the show?
This Monday, and you go take it on Wednesday.
Yeah, I said,
Wow.
I don't know. I said, man, I have a real job now. I'm going to have to ask if I can get off. And so I did that. And oddly enough, the drummer for the East Coast Party Band, that Mark Black now,
Right.
that's his group. He's the guy that told Bobby about me, Jerry Polk.
Okay.
And I owe it to him. Jerry Polk's dad was in the Medallions.
Okay.
So once a medallion, always a medallion. We've always said that to each other.
Extended family.
Yeah. So we went up there. I hopped the bus with them. I managed to get off, and Gerald and I sat in the back of Gerald Davis. Everybody knows Gerald, bass
Oh,
player.
yes.
Gerald and I sat in the back of the bus and ran over. He had a folder filled with lyrics. I was like, yeah, I've sang that one before. Bobby asked me initially to sing 6 songs.
Okay.
That was it. I wound up singing like 12 or 15 songs that night because Gerald had all the lyrics. Because I'd been playing horn primarily. We had lyrics. This was the Elmwood Park in Roanoke before they built the nice amphitheater now.
I'm familiar
There
with
were
Roanoke,
lyrics
yes.
all over the stage.
Yeah.
I was reading lyrics like this, singing my little heart out. And that night on the way home, Bobby offered me a position. He told me if I wanted to do it, he'd love that. So I was like, I need to figure out how to do this.
Oh,
And the money was right.
Yeah.
You
Much
know,
better than that job at the apartment condo complex.
I mean, that was tough. I didn't mind the work. You can ask my wife. I'm Riri. Hey Riri.
Just,
I love to
by the
fix,
way, Rita, his wife, is in the studio with us over here.
I love to fix stuff and work on things and do things with my hands. So it was a great job for me, but it was just not fulfilling at all.
Yeah.
And only the way, nothing can get you the way music does if you really love it.
But it sounds to me like that period of time actually helped accentuate where you knew you wanted to be back in music.
Yeah, and the way I wound up with the Embers, as
Yes,
you know, I alluded to earlier,
Yes.
that was how did that even happen? You know, I mean, I told you how it happened, but that's God's work.
It is.
And I asked myself many times, how did I end up here, and why am I here?
I got to interrupt just a second. I have found out through my other podcasts, almost everyone I have spoken to believes that God put them at the right place at the right time to be where they are today. And I love that. I love that. Growing up in the church,
Yes,
I love that. I believe that. And thank you for sharing that with us.
divine intervention. I
Amen.
thoroughly believe in that.
Amen.
Absolutely. So Bobby brought me in, and might I just say, at that time, I knew no one, because like I said, we traveled south.
Yeah.
I knew no one here. I knew nothing of the history of the Embers at that point. I knew nothing about what had happened between Jackie and Craig.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Jackie getting fired. I didn't know anything about Craig getting fired. I mean, I stepped into, and this was the Blue Water days with the Embers,
When was this?
2004.
2004. Okay.
September of 2004 is when I officially joined, and I think we had 29 shows that week.
Okay.
That month. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know any of the cast of characters in this whole market. I knew not one person. And you know, a lot of people embraced what was going on at the time with the Embers, with the transition. But I didn't realize how controversial it was to so many. And then I found myself in the middle of it. And some people saying, you'll never be a Craig Woolard. You'll never be a Jackie Gore and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm just trying to sing to feed my kids.
Well, you
What are
know
you
what?
talking about?
What I love about it, you are Wayne Free. You are who you are. That's all you try to be. And that's enough for anybody in the beach music world, brother.
Well, hopefully it is by now.
It is.
But it certainly wasn't then.
They had to learn.
Yeah. I tell you though, I learned just like with Elvis and those 8-track tapes, I dove into the Embers music and listened to Jackie and Craig endlessly. And first of all, I became a huge fan of both of them because their voices are great, both of them, and uniquely different.
Yeah.
And so I learned, I was like, okay, now I'm going to be a singer. It's time for me to be a singer now, not just a horn player and an instrumentalist. I'm going to really put everything I have into this. Listening to Jackie and Craig sing the vast material that the Embers have out at the time. I feel like I got better, but I learned so much more about that old music that I had been missing out on. And that was yet another blessing that flooded over me during that time. And I was really grateful for that. And to up to that point, I'd never met Jackie or Craig. Didn't know them at all. I only knew what Bobby and Gerald had told me about them on the bus going down the road. Well, that was it. But they were such a huge influence on me when I first
Oh, wow.
got to North Carolina.
Well, tell me, how did you get the transition to your present instrument?
Okay, that was an accident too. Um, so when I was a kid, the first instrument I ever had was a set of drums. But I didn't learn how to play them. I just beat a hole in them and my dad threw them out. But when I watched his bands practice, I sat right behind the drummer the whole time and picked it up. And in college, as a music education major, you have to learn all the instruments so you can teach them. And we had a set of drums in one of the storage rooms. And after hours, after class and all, I'd go in there and just piddle. So I've always kind of been a closet drummer a little bit.
Okay.
And so Bobby and I parted ways in 2014. That's when Craig came back.
Yeah.
And so I left the band and had no choice but to pursue solo stuff. Tried to put a group of my own together, but it just didn't work out. Didn't have money to do that. I learned quickly you got to have a lot of money to do that. I had the resources, but finding the right people was really the chore. Just couldn't do it. And it just makes you appreciate that much more what the Embers have done over 65 plus years or whatever.
Absolutely.
So, Bobby, at an event, Bobby and I ran into each other. And Bobby said to Rita at that event, he said, "I miss that boy."
Okay.
And we were like, "Really?
Okay.
I thought you hated me. You fired me. I thought you hated me." Because, at that time, me and Bobby weren't clicking on all cylinders for various reasons. But right after that, the Embers are going to Florida, and he asked me to drive the bus. I'm a bus driver, too.
Yeah.
I love driving buses, motor coaches. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." Because the group I was playing with a little bit at the time, the Pizzazz Band,
Yeah.
we weren't working. We were a part-time crew. And I said, "Sure, I'll be happy to drive y'all down there." And he paid me good for that, too.
Good.
I think he was trying to butter me up, to be honest with you. Drove him down to Florida and back. And then Reed's like, "You better look out for him. I think he's got something up his sleeve." I was like, "No, there's no place for me there. They've got too much going on. They have a killer band right now, with Craig out front,
Yeah.
full horn section." And Bobby called me again for another long trip. And at the end of that trip, he waited till we got back to Raleigh,
Yeah.
right close to his house, and said, "Hey, boy, I'm getting ready to have my knee operated on." He said, "I might need you." I was like, "What do you need me to do?" I can drive. I don't mind driving." He's like, "No, I might need you to play trombone or something." And he had a killer horn section at the time. And I was like, "So who's going to play drums?" He's like, "I'm going to get one of the horn players to switch to play drums," because he knew he played drums.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Why do you want to bust up a really great horn section and have me relearn all the parts and make it harder than it has to be with the horns?
Oh,
Just
wow.
put me on the drums." Because I used to write the Embers Christmas shows for years when I was there.
Yeah.
And I always worked it into the Christmas show to where I would play drums on at least one song, sometimes two. And I was like, I play drums a little bit, so wouldn't it be a lot easier? I know all the music because I stood up in front of you while you played it for all those years. I said, "Doesn't it make more sense for me to just play the drums and keep the band intact?" He said, "You think you can do it?" I said, "Yeah, I know I can do it." I already knew the music. It was just the act of sitting there and playing.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay." So he talked to Craig about it. And I already knew how to drive the bus, so they had a built-in driver for when Bobby was gone. And I could go and sit and play the drums and drive them back home.
Natural fit.
That's
Natural
exactly
fit.
what Craig said. It's a
Natural
natural
fit.
fit. So I did that. The Embers had a gig in Raleigh. Bobby had me drive over there. Uh, it was in a hotel there in Raleigh. I don't know the name of the hotel, but I went in. They were doing a sound check.
Yeah.
They stuck me on Bobby's drum kit, and this was the day that I met Craig.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, just, all right, let's try this. Miss Grace, count it off. And then we played like the first verse. All right, that's good. Let's, I love beach music. Hit it. Click, click, click. Bye bye. I heard Bobby do that forever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was the lead singer for 10 years. So I knew everything Bobby did. So it was a year. I just had to sit there and do it. But before that audition, I had 2 weeks at home with just me and the music to get it all in my head. Craig was firing off like this.
Wow.
And when it was over with, Andy Swindell was still in the band and Jeff. And Andy said, sounds good to me. Andy's so laid back.
Oh yeah, I know
You know,
that.
and Craig looked at Bobby and he looked at me. He goes, hell, let's give it a chance. So Craig is the reason why I'm doing it right now.
Well, you know what? That's a great story. And believe it or not, our time is already up. But one thing I want you to do, your radio station, what can you tell the people about where to find you whenever you're on the air?
Oh man, thank you for that. Beach Waves Radio, internet radio station. We've been nominated this year again for CBMAs. But my show is The Freeway, The Right Way, The Wrong Way, and The Freeway on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock on Beach Waves Radio. You can listen at beachwavesradio.com, or you can download the app from the website, put it on your phone, take it with us everywhere you go. My show is rooted in variety and laughter and fun.
I love that.
If you're looking for a grin on Wednesdays, you got nothing else to do, swing by and listen. I would appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here today. Folks, this man is, you just heard the story. He's spectacular. And if you can't go see him with the Embers Live, listen to him on the radio, and you're going to get a feast anywhere you go with his abilities. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next week.